Next tonight, we break down the difficult conversations of what it means to be a brown girl in the United States, the constant feeling of being othered, and how to cope with the emotional turmoil. Here to help us unpack these issues is Latinx activist and author of For Brown Girls with Sharp Edges and Tender Hearts, a love letter to women of color, Prisca Rodríguez. This is a book that serves as a guide for women of color. Prisca, it's great speaking with you. Now, you start the book with a message titled Dear Brown Girls, where you share some of the truths and struggles of what it means to be a brown girl living in the United States. What are those struggles?
Oh, gosh. I think it's the struggles of being a person of color, the struggles of not reading white. And so what it means in a white supremacist society to function, to attempt to thrive, to, get admitted to school, get jobs, get married. It just looks just a little bit different than it would if you're white. And we are oftentimes just fed this white narrative as the everyone narrative.
And let's touch on a thorny topic that's often overlooked within the Latinx community, and that's colorism. You say that you experienced it firsthand when your mother told you to stay away from the sun to avoid being too brown. Loaded question here, but how should Latinx individuals tackle racism when the community itself doesn't acknowledge it to be a problem?
I think hopefully with information like this, you can't tackle what you don't even know is there. So I give an exhaustive bibliography and notes in the back with a lot of references. If you're a statistics person, if you like graphs, go there to seek that information. But I think I'm hoping that the way that I'm approaching the topic will enable us to be more willing to have that conversation, because unfortunately, we don't even know what a lot of colorism, it's a buzzword. We've heard a lot about it, but a lot of people don't actually know what that means. So explaining it, giving people all the tools that they would need to go and have that conversation, I hope is the beginning of us beginning to have honest conversations, because we have experienced it and we're just not willing enough to talk about it.
In your book, you also write about diversity and not feeling welcomed in white spaces. Do you have any tips for brown girls on how to navigate being in an uncomfortable space that wasn't originally designed for them?
I sort of talk about it at the end of my imposter syndrome chapter. I think that the best thing that we can do is acknowledge the fear, acknowledge all the systems in place that make us feel this way, and knowing that there are systems in place that make us feel these ways, and then doing it despite it all. Like, speak even if your mouth is quivering. Stand tall even if you want to hide in a corner and cry, because we can't allow the fear that does dominate us when we are othered, when we're not like everyone else, when nobody in positions of power looks like us. It takes us, it's almost like a performance art. Roll your shoulders back and just keep going, even if you're scared out of your mind.
You touched on it there a little bit, imposter syndrome and brown girls feeling that way in the workplace. You called it an internalized oppression, a cycle of playing catch up and blaming ourselves for something we have no control over. Could that way of thinking be crippling? Unpack it for us, if you will.
So the term imposter syndrome is an actual psychotherapy term. It is a term that is valid enough that it has been in, it's 1983, I think, is the book that begins that conversation. So it is a very real term. It does impact people, specifically if you weren't part of like the initial working community, like men, white, straight, able-bodied men dominated the workplaces in the United States for years, before women went in there, before people of color went in there, before Black people went in there specifically. So it is a very real term, and I try to break that down. I give you all the tools to know the history of it. And also, once you know the term, it gives you so much language. I have named my imposter syndrome Posse. So that when I see her coming, I feel the doubt, because it's there. Pretending it's not there is not the solution. it's better to just see it, acknowledge it, and then move on despite it, that I think that we can actually move forward.
And your book is also a celebration of brownness, along with healing and being resilient. You end the last chapter saying, "Brown girl, this world does not want to see you survive it, so defy it and dare to thrive." What message do you want to leave readers with?
I want them to feel inspired, to find each other, to give this book to their families, to have new conversations that maybe they weren't encouraged to have. I want them to sample from my fearlessness. I know what I was a person that read Judy Blume at 12 years old and thought, I was like, this is all I have. So I have to attach myself to this, and this represents me. And it didn't. So I hope that this book provides that representation from somebody that looks like y'all, and then gives you somewhere to start. We don't have a book like this. And I hope that with it, we can move.
Thank you, Prisca. For Brown Girls with Sharp Edges and Tender Hearts, A Love Letter to Women of Color is out now wherever books are sold.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.